can't do it.
Yeah, I know. You good to go?
Yep.
You good to go? You log in? Okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this regular planning board meeting on February 26, 2026. Will everyone who can, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, can you please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement and take roll call?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied with respect to this meeting of the Township of Verona Planning Board, which is being held in the ballroom of the Verona Community Center located at 880 Bloomfield Avenue, Verona. Specifically, the time and date were included in the annual notice of meetings. This information, along with the meeting agenda, was posted in the municipal building and on the legal notices webpage of the Township website, and sent to the official newspapers of the Township, the Verona Cedar Grove Times and the Star Ledger, at least 48 hours preceding the start time of this meeting. The agenda and public handouts for this meeting can be viewed online at the Township's website. Instructions on how to comment will be provided at the appropriate time. Those wishing to speak during any public comment period should only provide their name and municipality. Street addresses are not required. Please be advised that should a member of the public choose to state their street address, it will not be redacted from this recording. Mr. Magarel?
Here.
Mr. Day?
Here.
Mrs. Parker?
Here.
Mr. Lilly?
Here.
Mr. Kamudi?
Here.
Mr. Fresky?
Here.
Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Here.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Present.
Mayor Tamboro?
Here.
Vice Chair Heineman?
Here.
Chair Pearson?
Here.
Board Attorney Macera?
Here.
Ms. Mish, zoning official?
Here.
And myself.
And also joining us this evening is Dan Halbin and San Siobhan. Before I go public participation, I just want to remind everybody to, if you haven't, reply to Dee Dee regarding the May 19th meeting movement, because there'll be early voting in here during the regular scheduled meeting, so we're rescheduling. So anyone who hasn't replied to her, please do. Also, remember that March 3rd, our meeting starts at 7 p.m. And now, Dee Dee, you can. This is public participation on anything not on the agenda.
Anyone from the public wishing to speak on any matter not on the agenda, please approach the microphone. Once recognized, clearly state your name and township of residence for the record. You are not required to provide your street address. However, if you do, please note that these meeting recordings are public record and addresses will not be redacted for any purpose. You will have 4 minutes to address the board. There will be no cross dialogue during this public portion. After everyone wishing to speak has been heard, the board may address your comments and questions.
It's an item not on the agenda, right?
No. Is there another time for?
Yes,
Oh,
there sure will be. Okay. Seeing no participants for items not on the agenda, I will close public participation. Thank you. Has everybody received the meeting minutes? No. Did we? For Friday? No, we didn't. Yep.
Trick question.
We're going to table the meeting minutes? I was like, no, we haven't.
Yeah, me too.
However, Greg and Rocket, like a rocket, got us two resolutions from our last week's meeting. Has everybody received the memorialization resolution 2026-08, finding 176 200 Bloomfield Avenue redevelopment plan not inconsistent with the master plan? If so, I will entertain a motion on this.
So moved.
The mayor makes the motion. I will entertain a second.
Second.
Mr. Day? Roll call vote. Yeah. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Magaro?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes. Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Kamudi?
I will abstain as I wasn't in the meeting.
Mr. Fresky?
Yes.
Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
I recused from this.
Yeah, can
Oh, great.
Not for.
Vice Chair Heineman?
I was not at that meeting.
Mayor Tamburo?
Yes.
And Chairperson.
I recused. The motion passes. The second resolution on our list is Resolution 2026-09, finding the amendments to the TC zone not inconsistent with the master plan. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Fresky seconds. Was that you, the mayor?
Yes.
Okay, mayor made the motion. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Magaro?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Kamudi?
I'll abstain.
Mr. Fresky?
Yes.
Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo?
Yes.
Vice Chair Heineman?
Abstain.
And Chair Pearson?
Yes. The motion passes. So those are good. Okay, so the next portion of the meeting are consistency determinations. And this, I am going to make a quick change to the order of everything, just because TCMU zone amendment is in the purview of SAN, whereas amendments to Article 19 and 21 are under Dan. So let's start with the redevelopment plan for 420 Bloomfield Avenue. San, if you could, a couple of people have approached me saying that they watched the town council meeting the other night and that some changes were floated to you at that meeting. If you could just fill us in through your dialogue on the consistency review hearing, what changes are planned to be injected into this plan before it goes back to the council, so that if anybody had any suggestions for any changes, that we don't have to, be repetitive.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. So on Monday night, so first off, before we begin into the process, a reminder for everybody that a redevelopment plan, although it's called a redevelopment plan, it's under the purview of the governing body. Your role as a planning board is to determine consistency like you would do for any ordinance, and a redevelopment plan is actually an ordinance. The redevelopment plan for 420 Bloomfield Avenue was introduced on Monday night, and during the process of discussion, one of the points that was raised is to have more detailed language about the stormwater management. So when they introduced that, they introduced edits to it. Nothing with 420 Bloomfield would ever, it doesn't change my consistency determination. I believe I covered everything for 420. There were other edits that were a part of 885, which I shall go in detail with that. So the edit I made for 420 Bloomfield was basically specifying the actual chapter of the stormwater management regulations, which is Article 25 of Chapter 150. And then and then there were some other very minor edits. For example, I did not include Deputy Mayor's name, so I did that. The area in need of redevelopment investigation should have had the year of 2026 because we just adopted it in January. So I made those kind of rather minor edits. And one thing I do want to point out to the board is that we went into a detailed discussion with the TC zone a week ago, but since that has just been introduced and not adopted, I used what's the existing affordable housing, not affordable housing, I beg your pardon, existing TC zone standards. So that's pretty much what I have done. And then one other thing I wanted to also, ask the board if they were comfortable. I put the parking standards, the project has to be compliant. But one sentence that I was asking if you'd like me to add is about providing parking on the site for both commercial and residential use. I mean, it already talks about that, but just to augment the language a little bit more. And I believe yes, stormwater, we took care of that, and I think that's about it.
Do you want to discuss the parts of the plan that are, the parts of the master plan that match the
Certainly, yes, I
consistency?
can get into the detail.
Okay.
So,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. So I want to give everybody a background, and if you have heard the presentation on Monday night, I'll be repeating myself, but those of you who have not, it's useful to know. So when you see the redevelopment plan or you see you see other documents that are produced by us, there is always this whole affordable housing process has been very arduous, and it's myself, our township manager, our attorney, we've been working diligently. So for 420 Bloomfield Avenue, this has been in the making since December 2023 when we were approached by them, and they'd come with 114 units, which just was something that we shut down. Then they came back with 86 or 90 units, which again we shut down, and we negotiated it down to 67 that they came back. Again, we pushed back and insisted that they provide all off-street parking on site. They continue to maintain the character of Bloomfield Avenue corridor, and most importantly, the final units is a maximum of 65 units and 20%, 10 units. So 10 units of which would be affordable, which is a part of our affordable housing plan, which again, it's so that people understand, it's something that we are mandated by the state of New Jersey, and if we don't comply with it, we are vulnerable to what they call as builder's remedy lawsuit. So, which that means that somebody would come and say, you are not satisfying your constitutional obligation, which is as per the Fair Housing Act, and here's my site, and instead of say 65 units, I'll try and put in 120. And there's nothing you can do because it's a part of that lawsuit. So whatever that the township has been diligently working on with all of us together is basically to ensure that we don't fall into that situation. Another thing I wanted to add for the 420 Bloomfield, of course, it meets all the master plan goals, as I mentioned in my report to you, and most importantly, it continues to meet the municipal obligation to provide the Township of Verona its fair share of affordable housing. And it will contribute towards providing affordable housing units or credits as are mandated by the state statutes, and will effectuate our fourth round plan. So in conclusion, it's my professional opinion that this ordinance is consistent with the 2022 master plan.
Thank you, San. Just a couple of suggestions to just sew things up, and then we'll go around for questions. At the bottom of, I think, the document, page 29, letter F was left blank. I don't know if you know.
I noticed it. I took care of that. So
You took it out?
I did. While preparing for tonight, I noticed that I got it out. I added Deputy Mayor's name. I added our township manager's title. So I ensured that it's as per the 2026 list. Let's see.
One other thing, you addressed it in your comments to begin with, but do you intend to change the uses, or the permitted uses to somehow mesh with the proposed updates as well as the non-permitted or prohibited uses
So
in town center?
Correct. So the way the redevelopment plan is required to be written by statute, we have to talk about existing uses. So as of today, that ordinance has not been adopted, which is one of the reasons why
Right.
I didn't include. Now, should the board choose, I can put in a sentence saying it's in the process of being adopted.
I think that's a good idea, just so that there is consistency in intrazone, if you will. It's just, I mean, if anybody has an objection to that. But the section is, with the permitted uses, is 1714E, and the prohibitions, prohibited uses is 1714F.
So
Just,
Ma'am, what I would like to talk about that is for the prohibited section, again, I think that we had worked really hard on to ascertain what uses could go, could not go. If the board so wishes, I can actually call that out in that section. When I'm talking about 4.3, I can add additionally these uses. But that's, again, it's your decision, your recommendation, and the governing body may either accept or not accept.
Right.
But I'll be able to do that.
if you could please put that in a memo, that will be brought forth to the council for their
Okay.
consideration. Does anybody object to trying to remain consistent to the proposed town center?
None?
Okay. Dylan, you have a question? Any questions? Any questions? We're just going around, so anybody who has. Tim?
No, I'm settled, thank you.
Dave?
No.
Kevin?
No.
Jack? Mayor? Jay?
Yeah, I very much.
Okay.
With respect to parking calculations, I did see on PDF, I'm sorry, not PDF,
Page 20.
page 20, the actual page 20, PDF 23. There's an asterisk regarding how block 1708-lot 2, that parking lot is being treated. And then when you, I guess, cross-reference it with the parking standards, it's a little unclear to me how that lot will be utilized in conjunction with the development of the redevelopment area. Is it intended that that lot will satisfy their off-street parking requirements?
I don't believe so. So just so that everybody understands, I would just ask our township manager, is it okay for me to describe our process for the past year?
Yes,
with this
please do.
Okay. So, and actually, I really appreciate, Mr. Heinman, you asking me this question. So we were approached by this particular property owner and whoever the prior developer was who wanted to do 114 units. And then a new developer came in with, I think, 90. Kevin, was it 90 at that time? And then he also wanted to develop that narrow parking lot to have 18, 20, or 25 units. So it was going to be a whole lot. And during the process of that negotiation, we basically said, you need to provide on-street parking. You need to, so we can accept 65 units on this building, which, eventually came down to 65. But that parking lot needs to continue to remain serving the purpose of parking. And that's why when you put it in perspective, right, it's actual that only one lot is 0.995, but when Richfield Regency is it's still functioning, if you've attended any event, almost all the parking goes to that lot. So our goal here was, okay, you want to put in 65? Ensure that you can provide all of that parking within your development. But that continues to remain as a parking lot. Now, what happens whether it comes to the municipality or not is, I'm not sure where we are in that process. But to answer your question, that's why I included that when I did the density calculations.
I mean, my recommendation would be to include a provision that if it is utilized as part of the redevelopment area's development application, that if it's going to be utilized for satisfaction of off-street parking, that it has to be subject to an easement agreement, just as they are separate lots, they're not contiguous, and there is a risk down the road that this thing gets developed, relying on that parking, and then all of a sudden they sell that piece off. So I do want something in there.
Okay, but right.
That, but if they decide that they can satisfy their off-street parking without it, then.
But our conversation with them was that will continue to remain as a parking. We haven't entered a redevelopment agreement with them, as far as I know, right, Mr. O'Sullivan?
That's correct.
Okay, so we wanted to put that language so that it's very clear that continues to satisfy, whether it satisfies their parking or satisfies municipal parking. So this is, I will be happy to put that in my memo.
Just a question regarding Jason's question. It's not considered part of the redevelopment
No, it's
zone.
not. No.
So you just stipulated that you were going to add into the redevelopment zone, all parking for that building must be contained on site
That is correct.
in the redevelopment area.
I think what, Mr. Hyman, correct me if I'm wrong, because we considered that to continue as a parking, you're suggesting I put in a sentence so that way we button it up or cement it, correct?
Right, well, you could do it one of two ways, and that's why I was unclear what the intent was.
Okay.
So if the intent is the redevelopment area has to be wholly self-contained, then there should be a provision basically saying that off-street parking requirements have to be satisfied on site.
And that's what I had said in the beginning, that I actually want to add that sentence, which, and that I wanted all your opinion if you're in agreement. So instead of putting that, I'll just add that one sentence, which, I thought we should add to just cement it. It's very similar to what we had written in the 885, so I'm just going to pick that language from point 7 onto this, which I've done now. So, yeah.
So does,
I think that change satisfies.
Okay.
okay. I just want to make sure that we're not kicking the door open to letting them, or giving them the idea to park next door.
But that's still a recommendation that we're making. That it's not in the ordinance explicitly now. And
That on-site parking must be
so
contained.
that's one, right,
Yeah.
that's a recommendation.
Yes,
Right.
Correct.
thank you, Greg.
Right.
Yeah,
And then similar to what we require for Hillcrest, I think there should be some accommodation, I'm sorry, not accommodation, some requirement
For bike.
for bike parking.
I did-
You have
I
that
did
in there?
add.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it.
Oh,
where is that located?
I can just, let me do a word search,
Yeah.
because I know, Jason, you'd ask that, so I put that in.
Yeah, because I did a word search and I
Oh.
did maybe.
No bike?
Bicycle.
Bice-
Oh, bicycle, yeah.
Yeah,
You found it?
there it is,
Yep,
Okay,
found it.
perfect.
It
designated
was at
area.
yeah, I missed it. It was like tucked in
Yeah,
between
I know.
signage.
There's a lot of reading for you guys.
Yep, there was.
A lot of writing for me.
Yes.
I'm going to play up the new to the board card again. You might have talked about this before, and this might be for San or Mr. O'Sullivan, regarding, we're doing all these housing projects.
I'm sorry?
And we're doing all these housing projects, and as a former Board of Education member, one of the things I always want to bring up is, have we done any studies to validate how many additional students would be moving into all these housing developments and how that would impact the school district with their budgeting? The average cost for students about $15,000 to $16,000. And I don't know if this has been discussed before, but that was one question I had. And the other question was, have you done traffic feasibility studies with the county to talk about the impact of the additional housing would, do for the town?
I can answer it, but I'm going to defer. Mr. Massara, would you like to answer it?
The town's hands are tied with regard to both of those questions. The town has an obligation to meet the requirements as imposed through New Jersey Superior Court, and somehow all of those issues have become secondary and not important. So we're stuck with having to build a certain number of houses, not our numbers, but through Fair Share Housing Center and, through some great negotiation that we got numbers reduced. But they're going to be in town and they're going to be somewhere. So the task has been where's the least worst to put them. And that's,
But I think Jim's question was, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, saying like, okay, we understand these developments are needed, and has there been any projections around student populations
Yeah.
so that then there can be planning done, right?
Yeah, I mean, we should at least do some kind of study to validate how many potential students might be there, so we can prepare the town or the impact that might take place.
I mean, that I don't know, and that's not really, it's great questions, but that's not really what's before this board. I mean, we're
I just
looking
know
at
we're
the-
doing studies, so figured that could be part of the study or something that could be done.
I think Mr. O'Sullivan wants to say something.
I can offer the fact that I've been in touch with the superintendent of schools to inform her of where we are with this obligation that the township has from the state. She is aware of these redevelopment agreements that are moving forward, or redevelopment plans that are moving forward. So I've had some discussions with her, and I've not yet scheduled, but I have discussed with her the idea of scheduling sometime in March another set of meetings so I can provide her updates on all the redevelopment so she can then continue the work that she needs to from the school's perspective and from the school's considerations.
Okay, appreciate that, thank you.
Are there any other?
You done? And maybe just walk me through 4.2, the bulk regulations,
Sure.
and just remind me, why are the setbacks on either side 0?
That's the existing condition, and this is also based on, so there are two. It's the front yard setback is 0, that's the existing condition. This is a part of the redevelopment, so we are complying with the concept plan that they had provided to us. So that's where the 0, which we obviously, like I said, negotiated down to the 65 units. That's the existing condition, and we're keeping that same front yard setback. There's one side yard setback, which is 0 with the non-residential, which is also an existing condition, as you know. We managed to, so that continues. And then the third, the one that Mr. O'Sullivan and myself pushed back on was a minimum side yard setback from that residential single-family home, which actually, if you go on site, it's at a higher elevation than this, because the site slopes down. So those are the existing conditions which we were not able to successfully negotiate, and we pushed back and were able to negotiate the side yard for the abutting residential uses, which is 15 feet.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If there's no other question, I just have a
Sure.
question of what was the recommendation, the specific recommendation with regard to 14E, 17, 14E and F?
I can tell you. 17, 14, we have specific uses that we had in the TC zone that we are prohibiting. So to keep it consistent, we are recommending.
Also permitting and prohibiting are in that.
Correct. So we want to continue keeping that consistent language.
So how do you want Greg to write the memo?
So
That's his question.
okay. So in, Greg, there is a section which talks about the existing zoning. For that, we just add a sentence saying that it's in the process of being changed. So that's what it is. But I think there was a conversation and suggestion about having prohibited uses, which will, apart from 4.3, which is in our general zoning ordinance, we had identified specific prohibited uses in our proposed ordinance. But since that is not adopted yet, what I think the best way to do is include those uses in the section where 4.3, which is prohibited, I said the prohibited uses as per section 150-4.3 shall apply to the redevelopment area. And then I wrote, in addition, fast food restaurants shall not be permitted. So we also need to then list out what uses we are prohibiting.
So I guess the question is,
Yes.
is there any intent to change or alter this redevelopment zone with the permitted uses and the prohibited ones after the TC zone presumably passes the muster of the council?
The TC zone and this are two separate things, right?
Understand that, but you don't want to leave the word cafeterias in. That's kind of like,
I know, but the thing is that doesn't apply. What would apply to this is from section 3.0 onwards. What that cafeteria does is, as per the redevelopment law, the redevelopment plan has to be written in a specific way. One of those requirements are to talk about what is the existing zoning. That's pretty much what this does.
so for the prohibited uses, are you suggesting that there be a reference to the new, yet to be passed town center zone prohibitions?
We
Or
could-
not? It's kind of a yes or no.
We could do that, or we could
do you
actually
use?
write it down.
I mean, where the redevelopment plan is kind of its own
Okay,
self-contained
then
thing.
fine.
Okay.
It supersedes the zoning, so whatever TCMU overlay or TC zone not overlay, but rezoning, this is
Okay.
insulated from it, so.
Okay. I just don't want any nail salons with hot dogs. Anyway.
No, we did put that language, which was
Okay.
consistent.
Linda Barr. I am now, if there are no further, sorry. comments. I would like to now open to any questions from the public. Madam Secretary, can you just quickly reiterate?
Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this matter only, please approach the microphone. Once recognized, clearly state your name and township of residence for the record. You are not required to provide your street address. However, if you do, please note that these meeting recordings are public record and addresses will not be redacted for any purpose. You will have 4 minutes to address the board. There will be no cross dialogue during this public portion. After everyone wishing to speak has been heard, the board may address your comments and/or questions.
Public comment is open. Seeing none, I will then close public comment. And if there are no further questions from the board, then I will entertain a motion to find the redevelopment ordinance for 420 Bloomfield Avenue's non-condemnation redevelopment plan not inconsistent with Verona's master plan.
So moved.
Second.
Is that you, Jack? Yes. All right. Deputy Mayor makes the motion. Vice Chair Heineman seconds. Can we get a,
You want recommendations?
oh, sorry, with the following recommendations. Can you just reiterate them, Greg?
That the off-street parking requirements must be satisfied within the redevelopment area, and that the ordinance be made more specific with regard to prohibited and permitted uses.
And you already said that you were handling stormwater, yeah?
That is correct.
Okay.
I've already quoted the right section instead of just saying zoning ordinance, so section 25.
So with those two recommendations for the council's consideration, can I get a roll call vote? Thank you, Dee Dee.
Mr. Magarel?
We
Sorry.
We have,
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Kamudi?
Yes.
Mr. Fresky?
Yes.
Township Manager Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hyman?
Yes.
Chair Pearson?
Yes. The motion passes, and we will send that memo to the council with, actually, we'll be able to memorialize this if Greg stays on his current trajectory.
I actually had a resolution prepared for tonight, but now I have to modify it, so based on your recommendations.
Or whatever. We can pass this at next Tuesday's meeting. But yeah, and that'll precede the council's hearing for adoption. Okay, the next item on the agenda is 885 Bloomfield Avenue. Sam, can you start with what, any particular changes that you were asked
Sure.
to
Sure.
put in on the council and then go into your,
Okay, I will. Can you bear with me for a second, please? Because everything opens, but what you want doesn't, so
thank you.
I apologize.
No,
So-
take your time.
So 885 Bloomfield Avenue was an intervener in our affordable housing plan. Our plan had said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Harbin, that we had put in a maximum of 19 units, minimum of 19 units with 15% affordable, correct? So they intervened. And based on that, we basically settled with them, and I'll get into that detail in a little bit. But one of their, we had a settlement, we settled with them in the middle of December, and they had a draft memorandum of understanding, and they sent us a concept plan. There were no calculations provided, so based on the concept plan, I estimated two things. The maximum impervious surface coverage at 65% and a front yard setback at 6 feet. We were supposed to introduce this, introduce this ordinance at 7 p.m. on Monday, on the snow day, and at 6 p.m. we had an email from their attorney saying that as per the MOU, it should be 70% of maximum improved lot coverage, and that the front yard setback should not be at 6 foot. Looking at the concept plan, what really encroaches into that 6 foot is there are steps that they're proposing. So what I did in that 3.2 area yard and bulk regulations is I mentioned that to the governing body, that this is what the conversation was, and they introduced the ordinance with that modification where the minimum front yard setback of 6 foot has an asterisk which says steps can encroach into the 6 foot front yard setback provided they maintain a minimum setback of 1 foot from the property line, and the maximum improved lot coverage was at 65%. It's a de minimis increase by 5% more, and that's how it got introduced.
So just to be clear, the front yard setback is 6 feet with the allowance for the
Steps.
structure of steps to be allowed?
Into it along Bloomfield, yes.
Okay.
That doesn't need the setback. The setback is from the bottom step. So what is it, 1 foot to the curb?
Yeah.
That's what it says,
Property
setback,
line.
it's 6 feet from the curb, it's 6 feet from the curb.
6 feet from the building line to the property line, not to the curb. The curb is a part of the right of way.
And so is the sidewalk?
I'm sorry?
The sidewalk is also part of the right of way?
Yes, sidewalks are typically part of side of way, right of way. It's any setback we write or ever write in a zoning ordinance is up to the property line as per their survey. So that's what we are saying. So it doesn't encroach into the right of way, and they should not be encroaching it into the right of way.
So it was introduced to the council with that?
That is correct.
And with the allowance for 70% coverage?
That is correct, yes.
All right. What other changes were discussed at council that you are incorporating?
I think there was some discussion about stormwater management, to be very clear about that. And then there was some language that they had about the landscape buffer. There was some mention about that as well. And I'm going to defer to the mayor and deputy mayor. Did I cover everything, or there's something that's
I saw something that you did miss, that didn't mention, was the driveways. I think
No,
somebody had
that was
recommended moving a driveway.
That was a discussion, and we had mentioned, the driveway width and the drive, that would be a part of the site plan review. Questions were raised about the driveway, and what I had mentioned to them is that could be a part of the site plan review. So when they come to you for a site plan, you can make those recommendations to them. What this particular document does, when you have a zoning ordinance and you say, okay, you can have 2 driveways, 24 feet. If there's 1 foot, there's one driveway with 24 feet, which is a better design solution as a part of the site plan process, they can go ahead and do that. So, am I clear, or am I making it more confusing?
No, understood.
Okay. So we are not doing anything about the driveway. So the additional change that would be is specifying what section of the stormwater management.
Yeah. It's chapter 150, article 25. And
correct.
all provisions of
That is
that, like
correct.
shall comply wholly
That is
with,
correct.
et cetera.
Yes.
I had another quick question too. I know that the bus stop is right there. That goes pretty much right up to the bus stop, correct? Did you show the diagram that I hadn't seen last night or Monday on the council?
It's close, proximate to the bus stop. Right, that's correct.
Okay. And assume that you're going to put some kind of buffer there. I think you're talking plants and trees. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And again, it'll come to you guys, and that's when you, ask for that.
Just to be clear, before you even get into the meat and potatoes here, I recommend strongly before you move any further that they shall comply with Verona's tree ordinance, chapter 496, article 2, according to the removal and replacement schedule. Also, their plantings and landscape shall comply with Verona's attachment 3 in chapter 150 entitled recommended plant selection list. And I have further comments, but I want to allow you to elaborate on what you've got going there and give everybody, a chance to ask questions.
Happy to do that.
Thank you.
Again, just so that everybody understands I'll be happy to write this, but know that the redevelopment plan very categorically states that anything that is not mentioned in this redevelopment plan, the actual zoning ordinance, it differs to the zoning ordinance. So, it's not a big deal for me to add these sentences, but know that your zoning just because we have a redevelopment plan with these building setbacks doesn't mean can everybody hear me? Yeah. So it doesn't mean that those sections of the ordinance do not apply. But I'll be happy to write this as Madam Chair mentioned.
Yeah, I had some comments, and I don't
Sure.
know, and to your point, right, I don't know whether they're incorporated now or when we discuss the site plan, but I had the opportunity to interview a couple residents in the townhomes which are immediately adjacent.
Okay.
And I wanted to understand what maybe potential challenges or, things for improvement. And, and I want to preface this by saying that this is certainly not an ideal piece of land to develop for a lot of reasons. So, and I think some of these comments reflect that. So these individuals, of course, from a quality of life perspective, it's very noisy. So you have to have at least double pane, and some of those units have triple pane windows.
Okay.
And then initially, the exterior siding was, before they ran out of money, was the kind of siding they use absorbs some of the sound. But then as they continued to build, they took a pause, and they built some new ones, and it was lower quality siding, and the noise came through. The other thing was about air quality, because they're right on the avenue, and there's a bus. The bus stops right there, and the bus, of course, even for those short stops, is burning diesel, and their exterior, their windows actually has an oily film to them.
Okay.
And their current MERV filter is not sufficient to filter the air in their department. So they're pulling in polluted air, and then they're breathing polluted air within the unit.
What's your recommendation?
Well, I guess the recommendation would be to have a higher MERV filter, because if you don't design the system like that initially, you can't put a higher filter in because it puts too much strain on the system.
So I can tell you that we do talk about fenestration windows, so your recommendations can easily be incorporated. And I would suggest that it gets incorporated now, then, so it becomes a part of this redevelopment plan.
Okay. The other tricky thing, I think, is with the light. So in these townhomes that are there now, they put a light in to allow people to make a left-hand turn when traveling west on Bloomfield Ave. That light has resulted in several accidents because people people aren't used to people stopping there.
Yeah.
So someone stops and waits for the light, and then they get rammed from behind. So the traffic, very interested to hear what the traffic analysis is going to be, because such a tight piece of property going on and off, including delivery trucks, and then of course emergency vehicles, could be a challenge.
And I'd love to answer that because I believe, Mr. O'Sullivan, that's a county road, correct? Yeah. So this question that you raised about traffic and et cetera, that will definitely be the questions you need to ask at the time of site plan. Most importantly, any kind of development which has ingress and egress from a county road, they need county approval. So that is important, and the county is very particular of how, how they would want points of ingress and egress. So that's, that's something that they would have to satisfy. Like I've had an experience in one of my towns where it was a county road. They pushed back. The planning board said, "Okay, we'll give you that," and they had to redesign everything because the county refused to give approval. Especially because Fells Road, Bloomfield is a intersection. They're right at that intersection.
Yeah, it's not like I said, not ideal
Yes.
for many reasons. And then the other thing was around water. Some of the units do flood. The existing units do flood, and then the snow, particularly this winter, was highlighted that unless the site is designed with a place to actually pile the snow, there's no place for the snow to go. And then when it melts, it causes flooding there as well. So it can't just, I don't think the site design can be one not considering snow and managing snowfall.
Just out of curiosity, it's not that buildings are flooding because of the water coming from uphill from the rear?
I don't know, I can't speak to that, but there's a really significant retaining wall behind those units. And then a very short space, and that's the other challenge is parking, because this site too is essentially isolated. There's no buffer. Like if somebody wanted to visit and there were no parking spaces on site, where would they go? To the county lot across the street or to this lot? It's just, and that's the other, I'm sorry, that's the other thing is that parking isn't, even though they followed the recommended parking spaces, it's an issue because there are always more cars than fit there. And it's been a constant annoyance or inconvenience.
So I'd like to answer that.
Okay.
Are you making a recommendation for the council's consideration?
I think, all I'm saying is
Because
that,
that's the important part here. We don't get to change the plan. We make a recommendation to the council to consider our suggestions.
yeah, so I guess I'm bringing these up as an open discussion
Okay.
to say, okay, does that make sense? I'm just relaying information, right? And so based on that, I would think we would want to ensure we have a buffer for parking, more so than something in the center of town, because in the center of town, you could always just park on the street. You can't park on the street there.
Right, I mean, that was a question I actually had about Fells Road.
Correct.
Fells Road is a narrow road. I don't
Absolutely.
want parking on it, and I think it would just pose a danger.
With a lot of traffic on it.
And
People go
It's not
fast.
even the traffic,
I
it's a
think-
narrow road with no
I-
shoulder.
I think as I proceed ahead,
Not that I
perhaps
think they'll park there and walk through, but I just.
it's not easy to walk either. But I can actually go through this process for everyone to understand from where we came to this.
Please proceed, and then we'll come back to questions.
Yes, because all the points that you have raised are very valid points, and I actually, I like your suggestion about the double pane windows. We can modify the plan to add that. That air quality, that's also a very good recommendation, which we definitely can add in the redevelopment plan. Obviously, we'll talk to the governing body about that. Regarding the parking, one of the things, first off, would you like me to go through the process of how we came to 28 units? Or would you like me?
No, I'm saying,
Let's just talk about the plan.
And this, I mean,
We don't need to talk about the negotiations.
keep in mind, the board's role tonight is to determine whether the ordinance is consistent with the master plan.
Okay.
Now, some of the background information obviously is important, and I think going back to what Mr. Day had said, maybe we suggest, that there be a buffer between the bus stop. That's how we change the ordinance. It has nothing really to do with the consistency, but one of the roles also is to make recommendations. What Mr. Fresky just said, obviously, with regard to parking requirements, perhaps you require more parking. I don't think you can do that, but also with regard to the ventilation. That's a way to improve the ordinance. But as far as the history and everything else.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to ensure that everybody, if they have questions. Anyway, let's get to the point. One of the things that I did write in this is all required parking must be provided within the redevelopment area. So that ensures that none, and then another thing that I could write, especially listening to your concerns, is I did write about on-street parking is prohibited along Bloomfield. I could just add and Fells Road.
I think that's appropriate. Does anybody object to that as a?
Could you repeat
But you would write in the plan that,
No one.
So if you look at section 3.5, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They have the jurisdiction to say no on Bloomfield Avenue?
No, but it's we don't have the jurisdiction to govern off-street parking. We have the governing body can say that the requirements, off-street parking requirements must be met on site, but you can't go any further than that and say
Okay.
you're restricted from parking, on a public road.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, if I could just
Sure.
bring up one thing. Mr. Fresky had brought up that traffic light there, and by virtue of dealing with another issue, the police chief pulled any reports there. There was a question that came up from an adjacent town about change in the orientation of the light. And we did some data analysis on the number of accidents, and the police chief did not find it that many more significant than any other intersection in town as far as accidents being caused there. So, but just as a point of information or reference, I just don't want the public to think that there's some, major accident problem with that light when there's not.
I also just add for context on the parking discussion, the town code already prohibits parking on Fells Road on both sides from Bloomfield Avenue to the Essex Fells line, so it's already restricted at this point.
Okay, good.
But
So
the
you're-
question is, if it's consistent with that, Mr. Massara, is it okay for me to keep that, or would you recommend that we strike it from the plan?
I would strike it.
Okay.
It's not the jurisdiction of this board or.
Okay.
Right, I would strike it.
It is the jurisdiction of the council.
Right.
Yeah,
but-
it is.
Well, but again, it has nothing to do with the redevelopment plan itself.
Yeah,
It's already restricted,
All
so.
right, that's fine.
And you are stipulating all parking must be contained
I already
on site.
have.
Okay,
I have. So,
continue, Sam.
I think that's it. One thing that you had recommended, the board had recommended last week, which I wanted to point out to you is under fences, I've just written board on board fence. Would you like me to stipulate that wood or vinyl and not chain link? Because I
Correct.
did board on board is what I've written.
Yes, please. I had a note about that.
Okay,
If that could be better specified, it's better.
okay. All right, and then,
You are pulling the northern portion.
no, that, I have no idea why that stayed on. that was supposed to be deleted. I apologize, I have no idea. It's the same thing as Westfield. I remember I'd done Westview Road, so it's that same thing, that language just stayed on.
Okay,
I'll be happy to delete that. It's, I think, on page 25 of the
It is.
PDF.
I just wanted to confirm something real quick.
Wait.
You had mentioned the
it doesn't matter.
lot
really.
coverage. What? Oh, sorry. You
I
had something to
just
say?
want to keep
Oh,
it
go ahead.
orderly, that's all. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm out of order. The lot coverage, you had said it was 65%, but then the developer wanted it to be 70. So did you just change it because they asked that, or is it?
Because it was a part of what they relayed to us was, it was a part of the memorandum of understanding. And that's why I changed it, because we settled with them, right? It's a part of the settlement agreement.
Okay, understood. The other question I had was the maximum building height's 40 feet. Like, I know the complex down the road, is that similar height?
Yes.
40 feet too? Okay. So that will, because it's low, potentially that won't block
It would.
the neighboring houses?
Even from the rear, it slides, the side slopes down, so yes.
That's also a pretty typical height for like
A
a three-story
townhouse,
with at-grade parking underneath.
Sam, one of the issues, I think, Dave brought it up, it's something that I take issue with, is most of our bulk requirements in almost every zoning code in every district of town, and in all of our redevelopment ordinances that come before us, has a stipulation about a planted buffer. And it generally determines the width of that buffer, whether it's, a minimum 15-foot planted landscaped buffer shall be planted between, at the blah, blah, blah. This ordinance is missing that. I'm wondering what exists between the property line in the rear and the parking. How much space exists there?
Right, so I do talk about landscaping,
Yeah.
but I do not specify the
Width of the
width. And the one thing I could do, because the way the concept, which was a part of the memorandum of understanding, just so that everybody understands that when we were negotiating with them, we actually pushed back and asked for a buffer. There's a small portion where it's like close to Fells Road where it doesn't meet that 10-foot requirement. That's the reason why I didn't specify that. Now, if the board would like me to put in a 10-foot, and other portions, because the lot is a little to the rear, it goes in a very zigzag fashion. So if the board would like me to specify a minimum of 10, yes.
Well, you have a minimum rear yard setback of 20 feet. There can be no structure within that setback. Is that correct?
That is, yes.
Then why not make 15-foot buffer? There would be no parking allowed in that 20-foot. Why not keep it 15?
Well, with that, if we keep it at that 15-foot, some portion of that development would not comply. There is portion that complies. So I would suggest that we did a 20-foot, but I would suggest that we do a minimum of 10 feet.
When you say some portions wouldn't comply, are you talking about parking jutting into the 15-foot? Then you're saying that there's 10 feet of parking that exists in the 20-yard setback.
So there is
20-foot. I'm sorry,
correct.
20-foot.
So there is a very small portion of the parking closer to the Fells Road as it curves around, which juts into that 10-foot setback. It's literally like 10.
So why don't we write in a 10-foot buff, 90% of the rear yard?
Okay,
has to have a 10
that works.
Foot buffer.
Thank you. He's always solving my stumbles. But you get my point, like.
No, I agree 100%.
Okay, if you have a 20-foot setback, there's no reason not to have a 15-foot.
Just said 10.
Nope. He's
I
saying
said 10.
Are you,
That's
you
what
you
Sandy
sticking with
just said.
10? Dan?
Yeah, I would
Does
request
it have to be?
that, yes, 10.
All right, okay. Um,
I mean, Sam, you're working off a concept, right?
yeah.
That is correct.
And, I mean, how far along is that concept? Can that just be
Not,
added?
not that far along.
So it's not.
Yeah, it's good enough
Okay.
when we were settling with them in December, but all these, and that was mentioned to, all our calculations were based on that concept that was sent to us on December 15th. We haven't received anything since then, and this was us making sense, but fortunately what they sent actually had landscaping. So,
I would also make this suggestion to alternatively utilize some of that buffer for stormwater management purposes, whether it be,
rain
you
garden,
know,
like, right.
so if they want to expand beyond the 10 feet up to 20, in order to utilize some of that as green infrastructural
Yeah.
space,
Well,
that,
they need-
well,
they will need permission, right?
right, but
I mean, they would do that, they would have to do that as
Yes.
a part of their site plan.
I guess I'm
But,
suggesting, you're right, though.
I'm sorry.
Right there.
Yeah, no, I'm not, right. So this is it. Let me just go through the consistency portion so that everybody understands. So I have identified what goals and goals and objectives from our 2022 master plan that this particular redevelopment plan satisfies. One of the most important goals that is very pertinent is continue to meet the municipal obligation to provide the township of Verona its fair share of affordable housing. And most importantly, that this will contribute towards providing affordable housing as mandated by the state statutes and will effectuate the housing element and fair share plan that we are supposed to adopt. So that's why the proposed ordinance, in my opinion, is not only complies with the 2022 master plan, but will effectuate the fourth round affordable housing and fair share plan.
Dan? Anyone else have? Any, I'm just kind of coming around.
What do you want to know?
Do you have any questions?
I don't have questions.
Okay. Do you have any
you have answers?
suggestions for the council to consider besides what we all want them to consider, what we want the state to consider? You don't have to come up with something.
I don't have
Okay.
specific suggestions on this. I think as far as what's been covered, face value, it's comprehensive and we've added to it. So I don't have more to add on
I
that.
just want to reiterate, I think that one of the biggest challenges to this site is going to be the flow of traffic on and off the site, coming west and making some kind of left. I don't see how this is going to work out well. And then exiting the property, and then would you be forced to go make a right when you're exiting the property and go east? And then people are going to be doing illegal U-turns. I'm going to be very interested to see how that is, what proposal.
And that would be at the time of site plan review. And you'll have, I mean, they have to come to you and get your approval.
Kev?
I have no other comments.
Deputy Mayor?
I'm just going to speak to the traffic. On Monday, when we discussed this at the council meeting, I was the one, Mr. Day, that brought up maybe moving the buildings to the left, to the west, because the county has their driveway directly across the street, and it looked like, you couldn't really tell exactly, but it looked like their driveway was directly opposite buildings 1 and 2, right, the center of them. So my suggestion was maybe put a driveway there. And I know the county is moving forward with redoing lights along Bloomfield Avenue. So the possibility of adding a light there, that could go maybe every other time that White Rock light turns, that may be the solution for this. But that, again, when people keep bringing up traffic, have you done traffic studies? That's going to be done when it comes before us again here. So that was one of my suggestions, hoping that with all the trucks, because their salt dome is there for the county, so that may be a perfect opportunity for them to make their property a little safer and to make this property work a little better. But I totally agree that going westbound on Bloomfield Avenue, coming out of this property right now is going to be very, very difficult. So hopefully that'll be a solution and the county will warm up to it. Their traffic people are right across the street and that's where they work. So they'll know the area and the location very, very well when they make their decision. That's all. Thank you, Ms.
Mayor?
I don't have any further comments. Thanks.
Yeah, I have one, well, I have a lot of concerns, but major concern is with the stormwater management on this site. It's a very unique property. It's going to be challenging from a general compliance standpoint, but, and Kevin, feel free to educate me or correct me because I'm coming at this from a lay perspective, but my understanding is the current stormwater regulations are measuring I guess, the peak runoff based off rainfall on the site, right? And it doesn't necessarily account for all of the water that a site might collect. And a site like this, that is at the bottom of a hill and is essentially a ditch between a hill and Bloomfield Avenue, might be collecting more water than what is just falling on it. So if the stormwater management infrastructure is only taking into account what is actually falling on their site, is there a risk that those systems get overloaded in a real storm scenario where water is also coming, like there's sheet flow from off-site?
I mean, I'll say again, this is kind of a lot of the discussions that would come at the site plan application. They'd be obligated to provide a full stormwater design with stormwater management, to meet the stormwater management standards, which would then be reviewed by our stormwater experts at that time. And all of those considerations would have to be part of that analysis, that the design from their perspective, and our review at that time.
Yeah, and that's my concern though, because if we're only looking at it from a current stormwater regulation standard, it's not going to account for some of these real world situations where there's going to be additional sheet flow onto the site. So what I want to...
The interesting point that you bring up is that right now it collects more water than it will be able to once it's built on. So what the stormwater standards require is the reduction of current undeveloped peak flow to the post-developed. That is going to be a tough number to get to for this particular site because of the, it's a really fair point.
But you can't impose a greater restriction just because it's downslope.
Well, that's under the current rules, right? The calculations that they would be taking were based off of estimated peak storm, right?
Correct.
But I think because we're catering a redevelopment plan to the site specifically, I think there should be some consideration for the actual water inflow so that they at least have to calculate for it so that we know that the stormwater systems will actually work.
I don't think that you could put a more stringent requirement on something based on your own, which I think, I mean, it's very good thinking, but I'm not sure that it would be enforceable because it is property restrictive as opposed to generally applied.
Well, it's generally applied to the redevelopment area.
Well, generally applied to redevelopment area, but there's nothing in the statutes that provide for different requirements depending on where you are located on a slope or down below a slope. Presumably, that's all supposed to be taken into account with sheet flow calculations and everything else. So that's all part of the overall formula.
I guess that was my question. So the sheet flow coming into the site will be accounted for when they do their...
It's supposed to be accounted for in the regular stormwater regulations. You can't have a different requirement if you're on a hill or below it.
Well, that was my question before.
Actually, you
What is-
can.
what
You
is-
can have a
Only if
more
you're on the-
stringent.
Only if you're on the slope.
You can
Right.
have more stringent, and put it this way, if you recall the discussion that we had when we were hearing a different application, and they used Delmarva instead of standard,
Right, but that's,
because
but
they
that's still.
pretended there was
No, no,
no
no,
hill?
but they weren't, they were not putting a different standard. They were trying to use, they weren't creating a new standard.
No, but they were trying
use-
to ignore the
Right.
current.
Right, exactly,
Which
which
is
they
something
couldn't.
that I
Right.
think Jason is trying to say, currently in
Well, you
its
can't ignore the
undeveloped
current.
state, it has a great deal more capacity to not just receive, but also to contain on-site the stormwater.
And
before it
Once
flows out.
developed, less out than in. So that will take that into account.
We have to bring it to pre-development level anyway, as per the DEP,
Right.
right, Kevin?
Right, so
The pre-development is what they base post
Yeah, but
on.
what are they counting? Are they counting the water that the site actually?
So the stormwater design will take into account both the on-site retention that they need to provide to make sure that they're reducing the peak flow runoff at different storm intensities. It will also incorporate overflow events, and those overflow events are part of the overall site plan review that the board's engineer will have to undertake. But not only will they have to make sure that the stormwater design is compliant with both the state and the town standards, they'll have to make sure that the site itself functions properly, and then if there are any negative impacts either to the public right-of-way or to any other infrastructure, those are accounted for as part of both the design, the stormwater review, and the site review. So there will be a little bit of a reconciliation between both of those designs at the time it comes to the site plan, to the planning board.
Is it same with adjacent properties? Because again, I think if you're filling a ditch with townhouses, that water that now is soaked in and wherever it goes, here's a suggestion, can we be explicit about that other adjacent properties are not going to be affected by stormwater runoff, or is that implicit?
I think that's the obligation of the board.
That's an obligation.
It's an obligation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we would be doing.
Yeah.
Mr. Sullivan, we get I guess, for Hillcrest Farms, we have a stormwater management report talking about time of concentration, all that kind of stuff. Are we getting a report similar to that for every property, or
During
just?
the site plan.
That will be a requirement at the time that they submit for a site plan
Okay,
application.
got it. It's a good report, I mean, it breaks it down, so, yeah. I like it.
They're further along in their process than these other sites.
Okay, got it.
I have a question for Mr. Massaro. With the builder's remedy, because we did have to change and allow certain allowances for the builder, how does that work if in the future with something such as stormwater, they're not compliant?
They must comply.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a settlement agreement, memorandum of understanding. They have, anything that is not in the redevelopment plan, our regular ordinances still apply. So stormwater ordinances apply, they have to come up with something that our engineers determine is acceptable and meets all the requirements. Same with any other, if they wind up with site restrictions, that makes it difficult to build what their concept shows, they have to come up with a modified plan that still meets those requirements.
So there is a chance that if they weren't able to meet those requirements and needed to reduce the amount of units, that would be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And just to bring Dan in on this, if that were to happen, that would still comply, according to the fact that it was an impossibility. Would that ring
Yeah.
true?
Yes, well.
Would you fight for that?
I would fight for that. Yeah, I mean, I have not had the opportunity to read the MOU, the memorandum of understanding,
Okay.
to know if there's a condition that, we have to give them 28 units if and maybe they change it to one of the townhouses to apartments. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, they have to comply with all these rules, and if they have to change their site plan based on that, I think there may be a need for them to come back to negotiate with the municipality,
Okay.
if it's not something that can be remedied at the planning board level.
Thank you.
And just so that we're all clear, this looks like a plan, but this is an ordinance. In an ordinance, we put in maximum standards, and then actually, when the site plan is before us, if, say, for example, we've written like 28 units, for example, or as per the site plan, if they are lacking in, providing adequate stormwater management, providing, parking or what have you, that triggers off a little bit of modification. And I've seen it happen in other places where we've written an ordinance which stipulated the number of units or density, but the actual site cannot accommodate that. So you'll have an opportunity at that time to go through, like, as Mr. Day said, you're doing with Hillcrest Farms.
But should we not, as a board, anticipate that they're not going to be able to meet the stormwater standards? And
we can't. That's not our role.
This is just a consistency determination. We're off the track by pretty far as it's been, but which is obviously what problem. But it's, that's your count, that's the governing body, and, who created who created the settlement, or who entered into the settlement and allowed the 28 units because, quite frankly, their hands were tied.
I mean, to your point, I'm taking this at face value, not like what I anticipate might change or that. It's like, we're voting on consistency as is.
Right.
I had a question. Greg, you brought up a good point about that bus stop. Is that within the property boundary? Because when I looked at the overlay, it looked like it was.
It is.
How's the concept plan account for the bus stop?
It is, and they haven't touched it.
They're not touching, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would recommend that 3.4 driveways and curbs account for, not putting a driveway within, 25 feet of the bus stop.
And it's more than 25 feet.
Okay, good.
It's actually 100 feet.
Okay.
Because it's a very elongated site with it's not deep, it's elongated.
Next time, ask for 50 feet.
And are there units next to the bus stop?
There will be, yes. There's,
50 feet?
Well, no.
no.
It's only Jay.
Mr. Day asked for a buffer. Is that a recommendation that is going to be included? A buffer between the bus stop and?
Well, that was specifically for the driveway.
Okay, but.
From the nearest unit, yes. Because my feedback from the people next door is that buses, when they stop, it vibrates the buildings.
Well, I agree with the buffer because there's going to be members of the general public walking onto the property next to somebody's private unit, so I do agree that there should be.
An appropriate buffer and let the council, at least,
They can't see in the windows because they'll all be covered in.
Soot, right?
Sorry, this is, God.
Okay.
That's all.
That's it.
Madam Chair, while we're at it, can we just go through all the recommendations?
Yes.
90% of the rear yard must have a 10-foot buffer. We're going to recommend an appropriate buffer from the bus stop to the nearest unit. There was, Mr. Fresky had talked about the filtering,
Double pane windows on the frontage of the property?
At least double pane.
At least double pane because of the noise standards.
Because of the noise.
and also.
Air filters.
And what was the acronym for the air filters, Dave?
MERV.
MERV?
MERV, M-E-R-V. I'd put a suggestion of greater, 17 or greater.
Yeah.
Most filters, house filters are 11 and 13.
Okay.
It goes up to 20 though.
Okay. Mr. Fresky had also mentioned like snow removal, but is that something that?
I guess it's part of stormwater management when you think about it, because they need someplace to design it so they have someplace to dump this stuff.
Well, that would be, okay.
And then the parking was off the table, right?
Right, that was something, right, that's going to be on site. And then the other was the fences shall be board-on-board fence.
Made of wood or
No metal.
vinyl, and in no way, shape, or form chain. No chain link shall be prohibited.
Well,
It's sort of retro, it's coming back.
It, no, no.
It's not?
No, it's not.
Try.
It is absolutely not.
Okay, so I have those 5
Was
recommendations.
there any recommendations that somebody made that were sort of left out by accident? She's adding the tree.
No, that's in there. It has to apply. All the other
The tree
ordinances
ordinance
must.
is not part of the zoning code. I want specifically, chapter 496, article 2.
They'll have to comply, and as I mentioned, we'll be writing that. Will be met, shall comply with Verona's tree ordinance, article 2.
Yes.
And attachment 3, Verona's plan selection.
Okay, so those are 2 more things. 496 is not part of chapter 150. So I thought
Verona's tree
specific,
ordinance, and what was the second one?
and the attachment number 3 of the zoning code, recommended plant.
Recommended plan, okay.
Recommended plantings.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you want to at least go through where this is consistent before we open to public?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, I guess I got lost in the.
Madam Chair, and just as a point of order,
Sure.
we're going to hear from the public, and then will we deliberate on the merits of the consistency, or is that happening now?
That's,
After-
that will happen after the public.
Thank you.
Okay? Does anybody have any further comments before I open to public? You can, basically, please, this goes by the same public comment that Dee Dee made before. So anybody member of the public who has a comment, please come to the mic, state your name and just your municipality. You do not have to state your street address, and you will have 4 minutes afterwards. The board may choose to address you.
Hi, I'm Michelle Bruet. I live in Verona, and I had one thing written that I had planned before I got here, and all I've been doing is rewriting, and I just want to start by saying thank you very much to the planning board and all of the members here for your thoughtful questions and deep conversation about 885 Bloomfield Avenue. I'm really very appreciative of the conversations in the meeting tonight. There's just a couple things that I have, and it's very short. It's not 18 minutes, I promise. But I noticed in the 2022 master plan that A3 properties, like the Valenti tract, were designated to have a maximum improved lot coverage of 55%. And I know that it sounds like, and then on Monday, I was listening to the town council meeting, and I was looking at the documents that were provided in advance of the meeting, and the number was 65% for maximum allowed lot coverage for the Valenti tract. But then during the meeting, when the planner shared her screen, it showed 70%. So I just was hoping for some clarification on what is actually going through, and is it consistent with the master plan? Because 65 to 70 might not seem like a lot, but 55 to 70 is a lot. Excuse me, I'm nervous. And I just want to make sure that it's consistent. So I'll leave my question at that. And I wanted to thank Deputy Mayor McAvoy for noticing and asking about those percentage numbers at the town council meeting. Thank you for that. And there's so many things I'm not going to say now because they were covered, and I appreciate that. I ask that the planning board take the time to carefully review all information before voting tonight on whether the current plan is consistent with the master plan, with the maximum lot coverage, but also with, and maybe this doesn't count because I don't know, but also with Verona's ordinances on steep slopes, stormwater management, trees, and thank you, Jessica, Ms. Pearson, for bringing up the tree ordinances and the information on landscaping. I very much appreciate that. I want to acknowledge something. I understand that the planning board, like the town council, may feel its hands are tied by New Jersey's affordable housing mandates. The state's weight behind developers in these situations is real, and I see the difficult position that puts you in. You did not create these laws, and fighting them in court is costly and uncertain. But I'm asking you tonight to protect what you still can. Where the law gives you discretion, use it for the residents of Verona, for the trees of Verona. Where a number can be pushed back, push back. Where a standard exists in our own master plan, hold to it. The families on Fells Road and throughout this town are counting on this board to be their last line of defense, even when the state has made that defense harder to mount. We understand you may not be able to win every battle. We're simply asking you to keep fighting. Thank you.
Thank you. Sam, do you want to just briefly readdress the MOU stipulation that led to the change from
Most certainly.
65 to 70%?
Most certainly.
Thank you.
So again, this particular developer was an intervener in our affordable housing plan. We settled with them to the units that we have, and based on the memorandum of understanding, which they had submitted to us in December, there was a concept plan that was attached. The concept plan did not have any calculations. The calculations were done by my office, just looking at the PDF and guesstimating. Based on that, we had 65% for the maximum impervious surface coverage. We put that in the plan that got introduced on Monday night. All of you saw that. And an hour before the introduction, we got an email or a call saying that this is not as per the MOU and that it has to be 70%. So that is the reason why we changed what we changed and what I mentioned before I began my presentation.
And I will just say thank you for your comments. I will also say that the A3 zone is not in the master plan. It's in our zoning code. So that's the difference. We're not weighing it against our existing zoning code, which does in fact call for 55% allowable coverage in the A3 zone versus, and that was a comparative analysis that they were doing to a townhouse zone that's drafted, that's pre-existing, really. There's no new townhouses coming but for the affordable housing that we're going through right now. So the comparison to the 55% is to the zoning code, not to the master plan. And as she just described, they allowed for 65 and the MOU said 70, so they reverted.
And it is, again, I don't need to belabor the point, right, but what we are reviewing here is the consistency review.
Yes.
And it is compliant with the land use plan of our 2022 master plan. It is compliant and it's substantially compliant. That's what the MLUL requires to do. Most importantly, it effectuates our affordable housing.
Shan, just for the record, it's important to note, please tell me if you agree, you're not only negotiating against or with the property owner, but you have fair share housing.
That is correct.
That you're negotiating against as well.
That is correct, and that is an excellent point.
Right.
So Verona was in a tough situation, and we, Dan, myself, Kevin, and our attorney negotiated with 4 interveners, and fair share was consistent throughout. So yes, that is a very important aspect of this.
Are there any other members of the public that have any comments or questions? Please state your name and your municipality, and you have 4 minutes.
Stephen Firkser from the firm of, sorry, Stephen Firkser, Firkscr, and the firm of Greenbaum, Rosemith and Davis, attorneys for the property owner. I just want to say I think all the recommendations made by the board attorney, I just want to clarify, 90% of the rear yard must have a buffer for landscaping. That's good because there is a pinch point where it may not be a full 10 feet for landscaping in order to accommodate the parking. And I just want to, I think everything else is reasonable. I don't know about the MERV air filter. We just need to see if that's a commercially reasonable standard. So we would just ask if commercially reasonable. And we thank the board for its consideration.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public that have any comments? If so, please approach the mic. Okay, seeing none, I am closing public comment. Thank you. At this time, if there's no further comment on this, Tim.
So, I recognize the structure of this redevelopment plan is one, it's set around that goal of objective in our master plan of meeting our public obligation for housing. But I think it's motivated by, this settlement and that versus intrinsically overlaying our master plan as a whole. I think we all know about the odd and the nature of the property, and there's a lot of potential negative impacts on the surrounding area, on the neighbors, and to the residents, as indicated by what Mr. Fresky said, of the townhouses that are there. That I've scoffed at them years ago at the stairs that are literally, if you fell down them, you're going to roll into Bloomfield Avenue. And,
We all agree.
6 feet is, about the length of that table. It's probably even longer. But so another part of the master plan is maintaining the existing character of the area. Obviously, it's a undeveloped wooded lot. Anything's going to change it. But however, I think that the nature of this plan, using that A3 as a reference, is adding more density to that than normal. If anything, I would expect one of these plans to not only seek to maintain the entire spirit of our master plan, but mitigate or put the onus on the builders to maintain that. But I think this allows even more leeway towards the settlement, towards the meeting that obligation, but at the expense of other aspects of the master plan to a space that I have serious concerns with. And I'll just close by saying, as much as we want to move progress forward, and I think we balance all parties as much as we can, this board is not just a mouthpiece of the governing body or a rubber stamp. Otherwise, we should have just said, yes, and gone home. I think we have to even be a counterbalance sometimes and add checks and balances to the entire Verona governing board. So with that, I encourage you to look at it at our master plan holistically and take into the considerations and concerns I've laid forth there.
So even if 100% of this body, just making an argumentative point, said that this was not consistent, the governing body, we're just a recommendation, just to let you know. That I'm not undermining us, but we did make a bunch of suggestive changes that brought it towards that sweet spot that I know that exists. And there are other properties that have gone forward in this process.
I
that
agree.
The same exact conditions exist on.
I understand. I mean, I could come up with a lot of ways to make it not so bad to have a horse in my house, but it would still be so.
I appreciate your input always. So,
Ma'am, may I just interject? Yeah. As a professional planner who actually wrote the master plan and who's been involved in this process, this is indeed consistent with the land use plan. There are two, when you look at consistency, you look at that what it is consistent substantially with the land use plan, and you also look at affordable housing or plan. The affordable housing plan element and fair share plan that Mr. Harbin has prepared is part of our master plan. Mm-hmm. So based on that, it is substantially consistent, and the recommendations that you've given, the board holistically has given, is to make this plan, this ordinance even stronger.
Do we, when we're taking consistency matters into consideration, especially for land use development ordinances such as this, that obviously don't comport with our existing zoning code, which is not, again, the measuring stick, are we also supposed to apply consistency to the affordable housing element?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay, so...
And just so that I wrote it, perhaps people noticed it or not, we did have a land use recommendation 4 years ago to adopt a redevelopment plan for the Valenti tract. So we had a recommendation in the land use plan at that time.
Okay, so accordingly, it's almost impossible to wipe...
it inconsistent, correct.
Okay.
I was just going to add that in 5 days, hopefully, I'm going to be back here, and hopefully the board will adopt the housing element and fair share plan, which will effectively update your master plan. So if you have any concerns about consistency, just be aware that in 5 days, San could give the exact same presentation that she gave tonight, and it would be consistent with the master plan by way of the adoption of the housing plan. And if you're just being extremely technical about understanding how, the consistency questions.
And really, it is to effectuate that, but it is consistent with our land use plan element. So those are the two elements that we consider when we look at for consistency as per the municipal land use law.
Does anyone else have any further comments or questions? Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. First off, I am satisfied that this is consistent with our master plan, or is not inconsistent with the master plan, or whatever. So I'll start with the conversation there. And I appreciate Ms. Siobhan and her expertise, Mr. Harbin and your expertise, and helping guide us toward that understanding. I would like to thank all the board members for coming up with some reasonable suggestions to help mitigate any issues that may exist with this development. I think we all are in agreement that this is not an optimal development, but as has been mentioned a couple times, by the virtues of law and court decision in the state of New Jersey, we are in many ways forced to adopt something that we probably would not have done otherwise, just to be fair out there. But I don't think that's necessarily a catch-all excuse for anything either. And what I want to say to the members of the public is that I think what you saw tonight, though some of the discussion didn't specifically relate to the relationship to the master plan, but I think what you saw tonight is a really good preview of what will happen at a site plan review. And I think that the members of the public should be confident that this board, myself included, will ensure that the site plan is consistent with all of the legal requirements and ordinance requirements that it must follow. And that's another, and I'm sure there will be many, many meetings regarding the site plan, expert testimony, a lot of review. So this is simply saying that we are consistent with the master plan, but does not necessarily, it's not the end of deliberations on this. In fact, really and truly, it's only the beginning. So as a member of the governing body, I will point out that I will vote in favor of amending this at our next governing body meeting to include those recommendations made here tonight. So I thank the board members for that. And Ms. Gray, thank you for your public comment as well. And also for the attorney for the applicant. Sorry, Mr. Persker, for coming forward and agreeing that some of those recommendations, or almost all of them, were reasonable. That is helpful and unexpected. So thank you very much, Mr. Persker, for that. And I hope that also provides some assistance to the public in understanding that the applicant's own counsel is reasonable in review of these items as well. So that concludes my comment, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? That being said, I will entertain a motion. It's going to take a minute to find the redevelopment plan for 885 Bloomfield Avenue not inconsistent with the master plan, with the following recommendations from the board.
The 90% of the rear yard must have at least a 10-foot buffer, that there be a buffer between the nearest residential unit and the bus stop at a distance to be determined by the council, that the housing units have double pane windows, that the housing units have MERV 17 or greater filters, that any fence be board on board, vinyl or wood, that the plan shall be revised so that it is explicit that that there'll be compliance with Verona's tree ordinance, that attachment number 3 of recommended plantings in the township be made a part of the redevelopment ordinance. So there were 7 recommendations.
Did you write chapter 496, article 2, instead of tree ordinance?
Chapter 496, article 2.
Thank you. I'm a stickler.
Can I use both and then put that in parentheses? The tree ordinance and then put chapter, I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, thank
You can use whatever.
I reversed that.
So with that said, can I get a motion to find this 885 Bloomfield Avenue's redevelopment plan not inconsistent with the master plan with the notations and suggestions that Greg just iterated?
So moved.
The mayor makes a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Dave?
Yes.
Seconded by Dave Fresky. Can you call roll?
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Kamudi?
With great respect to Son and H2M, the comprehensive work and the valid suggestions and deliberations of this board, I still find it inconsistent. I'll say no.
Mr. Fresky?
No.
You made the motion. You seconded the motion? Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo?
Yes.
Vice Chair Heineman?
So given the limited scope of review we have here, that we find that it either is or is not consistent with the master plan, given that the master plan specifically called for the development of a redevelopment plan for the site, and the site was included in our housing element and fair share plan. While this is not the plan that I would like to see for the site, I don't have a choice but to vote that it is consistent, because the plain language of the documents say that it's consistent. So with that, I say I have to vote yes.
And ditto, yes,
Chairperson.
for the same reasons and more. So can you just, 5-2? Okay, motion passes. Sorry, 7-2, my bad. I can't add right now. It's like 9:20, it's addition time is over. At this time, why don't we go to the TCMU, since it's a pretty short review with one minor tweak, and then we can take a 5-minute break before Dan takes over the meeting on the last two ordinances. Is that okay, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully mine will be quick too, but.
Okay.
So, all right, so TCMU zone. TCM, 9:20, really.
Hold that closer to you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? TCMU zone, again, this was a part of the settlement agreement with Fair Share Housing, and as per our special adjudicator, the TCMU zone was a part of the third round regs, where we had 15% set aside for rental units and 20% for owner occupied. As per the settlement agreement and our special adjudicator, we are now required to modify that ordinance to have across the board 20% set aside for both rental as well as owner occupied. And that's basically what is the ordinance change. And it is, again, going to effectuate a housing element fair share plan. And it is consistent with the master plan.
Thank you, San. Briefly, will the allowable uses also revert to the TC zone once that passes at some point in the future, not now?
So I think that's a good idea, ma'am.
Okay.
So yes, we could do that. But
we don't
right
have to
now
do it
we
now?
have to.
No.
Yeah.
I understand. Does anybody have any questions on this? I will make a motion. No, I won't. I will entertain a motion to find the TCMU updated changes to that zone, not inconsistent with the master plan. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Sorry.
Vice Chairman Hyman makes the motion, the mayor seconds. Can we get a roll call, please? Sorry.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Presky?
Yes.
Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hyman?
Yes.
Chair Pearson?
Yes, and you missed a couple of people.
Best for last.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Kamudi.
Kamudi, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Just Tim?
just me.
Sorry.
Best for last, yeah. It's a big vote, yeah.
The motion passes, is unanimous, that it's, and why don't we just take a quick 5-minute break and come right back and finish up the meeting.
Jessica's is going too.
Look at her, Richie. You good? All right. Okay, we're back. I want to thank San for all the negotiation that she did. She just left for the evening, but she's been under immense pressure to get all of this done. Kevin, while you have that I just want to know. Does anyone here know, that could be Dan also, whether we got an extension on our plan for that one piece of property? Does anybody know the outcome of that, Dan?
I don't. San probably would have been the person to ask at this
Do
meeting.
you know,
tonight.
Kevin?
I don't believe that we've received the extension at this point. Not yet.
What does that mean if in the next couple of days, before we have a hearing on this plan, that we did or did not get an extension on that property? Has anyone spoken to, can you call Jamie?
I'll get an answer from Jamie.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think that it depends on the communication that's been had with Fair Share and the special master. And I know the special master is aware of what's been going on with the Grove Avenue property and that an extension may be needed. So I think she'd be on our side if we have to get one. But that's the extent that I'm aware of, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay. So the next two items on our agenda, thank you anyway, are two portions of our zoning code, Articles 21 and Article 19. 19 is the financing, Article 21 is the affordable housing ordinance. Dan, do you want to, while you're answering that, can you tell us if the green typeface was somehow different than just the red line?
It's all red on my screen, believe it or
Okay.
not. But yeah, I mean, anything that,
I thought maybe the green meant like this is something that's,
I think it depends on your computer. Green, I mean, if it's the question, green means that it's being moved from one section to another.
thank you,
Yeah.
see?
Thank you. I
There
forgot
was
that
green,
that was
I'm
a
not
thing.
crazy.
Yeah.
All right,
No, it's green and red on mine.
Well, let me pull that.
In ours, I don't think it means it in addition anyway.
Okay, I didn't know if it meant
We don't have red in ours, it's just.
this, oh my God, all right. Sorry I asked. Dan, please.
Right. So yeah, so you should have for kind of educational purposes a track changes version which shows you what's changed. But yeah, so just starting from the beginning, Chapter 19 is your affordable housing ordinance that states essentially dictates how development is supposed to be. Affordable housing developments are supposed to be built, occupied, priced. How incomes are determined each year, and it is largely the responsibility of the administrative agent to handle some of these issues, especially the marketing of affordable housing units, the selecting of the occupants of affordable housing units. Article 21 is your development fee ordinance, and these are two ordinances that you already have that I think we last adopted in 2022 or 2023 as part of your third round affordable housing process. And at that time, the ordinances were updated based on settlement agreements that were entered into between the township and Fair Share Housing Center as part of that round of litigation and chaos. And based on rules that had been adopted by COA, the Council on Affordable Housing, from the 90s through the mid-aughts, and amended or partially struck down, I should say, by various Supreme Court and appellate division decisions. So what's happened since 2024, when the legislature adopted PL 2024-C2, which is what we were calling the fourth round rules, is that the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs adopted a new set of rules called 599, which is supposed to replace a number of the old COA rules, and the HMFA, Housing Mortgage Finance Agency, administration, one of those two, updated a set of rules that's been around since the mid 2000s called the UHAC, which dictates a number of those things that I was just talking about: the pricing, the number of bedrooms, the occupying of units. And we basically have to, as part of our agreements with Fair Share Housing Center, we have to update our ordinances to match those two new state regulations. A lot of the changes are not substantial. It is removing old references, since, as I said, some of the language goes back to the 90s, the 2000s. Some, COA is no longer a thing. Now it's the Affordable Housing Dispute Resolution Program. There are some changes that are a little bit more substantial. For example, now the rules have minimum unit sizes for affordable housing units. There's changes to how much money the municipality has to set aside for this thing called affordability assistance, which is basically on top of creating affordable housing, you have to have a pool of money equal to 30% of your trust fund revenues that you have to set aside to basically make that housing a little bit more affordable in terms of providing deposit assistance, down payment assistance, et cetera. You no longer have to meet that 30% threshold, so it gives the municipalities more wiggle room in terms of using money for the actual creation of affordable housing or the payment of your affordable housing professionals like myself, San, Jamie. And there's some other changes in there that are substantial but pretty minute and not really related to your purview as the planning board or even the council, because they wouldn't deal with it on a day-to-day basis. One other substantial thing is that we have had to update the 2023 update to the ordinances were required to have a mandatory township-wide set-aside requirement that says that any development of 5 units or more has to set aside 15% of development or 15% of units for rental, 15% of rental units for affordable housing, 20% of sale units for affordable housing. But now that we are a vacant land town, meaning that we use the vacant land adjustment to reduce our affordable housing obligation in the 4th round plan, we have to now have a flat 20% set aside township-wide. So there's no longer a difference between 15% for rentals, 20% for sales. It's all 20%, which is actually good that we now have this allowance or requirement to do this, because when you do a vacant land adjustment, you're assuming a 20% set aside on every vacant property that you consider in that analysis. And so now it just means that if any of those vacant properties are actually being developed and included in your plan in the future, you're getting as many affordable units from that development as you were required to account for it in the analysis. So it's a self-repairing thing, I guess. The developments pay off for the RDP, you could say. The language is, I'd say, 90% mandatory. It's not a whole lot of flexibility. The one area where you have flexibility when it comes to development fees is you're allowed to have you're allowed to have some flexibility with regard to charging development fees for residential development. I've maintained the language that we adopted a few years ago. And then there's some flexibility with rounding when you're determining how many affordable units have to be 1, 2, or 3 bedroom. And I've recommended the approach that, I guess, protects you the most in terms of making sure that you have the number of 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms that you should have for the most part.
Did you limit those to the best of your ability within that? Or did you allow for more than
No, so
what's called for?
It's still the percentages are still 20%, maximum 20% for 1 bedroom, minimum 30% of 2 bedroom of affordable units have to be 2 bedroom, minimum of 20% of your affordable units have to be 3 bedrooms. So I rounded up actually for the 3 bedrooms and the 2 bedrooms, and the reason is because you actually, well, in the future you get extra credit for additional 3 bedrooms, but it also protects you in when somebody looks at your plan, your total unit inventory, and says that you're short on your 3 bedrooms. You don't want to find yourself short. There is flexibility there, so if your recommendation is to round down,
Not necessarily, this just speaks to the amount of kids that end up matriculating into the Verona school systems when you're talking about a 3-bedroom family unit.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your description of what you did and why. That's just one little concern I think everybody
I understand that. One thing that I would say that I'm comfortable doing is, rather than rounding up or down, just rounding to the nearest whole. It's clean. I think it's just try to be mathematically conservative with these things, because I don't want to find out what the backfire is going to be in 5 years when you do the look back. But I'm comfortable with making it around to the nearest whole. If that's a recommendation.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you, Dan, that we should round to the nearest whole, especially with the 13% very low income requirement, because when you're talking about 13% of all affordables, more likely than not, you're going to be rounding down, and then we're going to be left with a shortfall. So
you want to
round to the nearest. That way, some developments will round down, others you'll make up for it with rounding up. Does our spending plan, I know we're not there yet, but does our spending plan account for earmarking funds as an incentive to developments to provide additional 13% very low?
No, because that's something normally we could qualify as affordability assistance. I'm sure you understand. We are using what funding we would have had available for that is going to be used, or at least is right now being reserved to assist with providing special needs housing at the 885 property in case that's needed for assistance. So, and this is obviously a draft spending plan right now. So,
right.
We have it's going to be passed or approved by the council on the 9th, or reviewed by the council and hopefully approved. So there's time to change that, but that's how I'm approaching it this point, because we now have the flexibility. We don't have to do 20% of this huge amount of our money for that. So, but that's how it's being used right now.
Were there any other changes that were individual to Verona and not mandated besides what you had just mentioned, or is that pretty much it?
No, that's pretty much it. Okay. Just trying to think. No, I think that those are the big ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is, again, the Affordable Housing Ordinance, Chapter 19.
Yes.
And does anybody have any questions on this?
So it is one ordinance that's one ordinance that's amending both articles.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you want to move in? Well, are there any questions on this first portion of our discussion?
I just covered both.
Yeah, you went through it.
Madam Chairwoman, I move to find...
Wait a minute. I have a question.
Yeah.
Just stop. Come on. Under the spending, I would recommend to the council. I'm getting there. Article 21, Section 9A should rename Investors Bank, which doesn't exist anymore, to either whatever bank it is that Verona might utilize, or, the bank with our funds in it.
Is it Citizens now?
Whatever you want.
I get the same, but I think
Citizens.
I tried to look up, is Investors Bank still exist, and I got the most confusing answer.
Dan, I wouldn't be specific to any bank.
You have to be.
You have to be?
Yeah, you have to identify in the ordinance the bank that is located.
Is it Citizens now, Kevin?
I'll get the information for you.
Okay. Secondly, Article 21, Section 10A7. The Township of Verona does not currently permit accessory dwelling units, therefore I
Right.
suggest the removal of that option
Yeah.
for spending. Thank you.
What am I supposed to do with my garage?
Not going to work. You're going to have to put his horse in your garage.
I have suggestions.
Does anybody else have any comments before the mayor? Seeing none.
Madam
I
Chairwoman.
did hear from the deputy mayor at the last.
Deputy Mayor.
That I should remove the duplicative mentions of air conditioning and utilities and stuff like that, which I'm gonna look into. The ordinance that we use was a model ordinance that was produced by various affordable housing professionals and then reproduced by the DCA. There's a lot of, I don't doubt that there's repetition and potentially junk in there. So I'm gonna do a little scanning to see what I can remove without affecting the substance.
Yeah, actually, there's a whole section reiterated for units for rent versus units for sale. And it's the exact same two things if you can combine, whether they're units that are rentals or sold, combining that would probably save a lot of ink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I will email you the pages that I was referring to at Monday night's meeting.
Yeah, please, thank you.
Mayor?
Madam Chairwoman, I move to find amendments to Article 19 and 21, not inconsistent with the master plan, subject to the revisions suggested from the table this evening.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could reiterate, the recommendation that we're going to round to the nearest whole. We are going to.
And that's for the bedroom counts.
The bedroom counts, right, okay. We are going to remove any reference to, no, we're going to fill in, or we're going to modify Investors Bank to a new bank. We're going to remove 10A7 or 10A7 of the ADUs. We're going to remove duplicates for AC units, et cetera, and we're going to consolidate any parts that we can for sale and for rent. They're the recommendations we're going to make to the governing body.
I think we also have discretion on the very low incomes on rounding, since that's not,
Do you want to round?
we want to round to the nearest whole on that.
So-
You want to round up for the very low because you want to make sure that your family very low is, meets the requirements. That's my recommendation. It doesn't hurt the town.
Yeah, it's just that gets tough because, I mean, if you've got a 1.2% requirement on a smaller development, doing a second very low, that gets it close to not feasible.
We're not going to do it.
You're made to do two instead of one.
Yeah, that is a trade-off because, you know, when you have a roundup, you potentially create a burden for smaller developers, but, and I'll do what I think the
nearest,
accounts
because if
recommend,
you're at
but-
like 1.8, once you get above 1, you round to the nearest whole.
Does anybody have any objection to rounding to the nearest whole for the very low income development?
But when you say round, like what?
1.2 could either get rounded up
So-
to the nearest.
If your development has 10 affordable units requirement, 13% of those units, which is 1.3 units, have to be very low income. So, so the recommendation, what I had in the report is to round that 1.3 units to 2 very low income units from the perspective that it helps your whole plan.
No, I understand all that. I'm saying the rounding rule typically is like, okay, 1.5 and above go to 2, 1.4 below.
That's what they're suggesting. Right.
Okay, that's what you're saying.
As opposed, he had 1.2, would go to 2.
Right.
He's changing that now, just for the very low income. Just for very low. And for the number of bedrooms.
And let me ask you this, does that, when somebody suggests that they're going to build 30 units, and they're required to, or 31 units, and they're required to produce 20% now. Do you round up? I like rounding up for that.
For which one?
For when,
Overall.
no. This is overall for somebody who basically
That's
proposes to build.
Round up under UHAC.
So, okay, so for.
I think we did, well, so that actually you have flexibility on, so I think we did round up for that.
Thank you, like that.
I thought
That's,
you had to. You have to.
So the rule, the way that the model ordinance was written was that you either have the option to force them to round everything up, or to have them round to the nearest and then pay a fraction, pay a payment to the trust fund. And I'm averse to getting payments in the trust fund, because then you're under the obligation to spend that money, and coming up with how to spend it is often difficult.
so with that, so that is required. That's required. Okay. So the only other change to the amendments was for the very low income to round to the nearest whole number.
Right, that's the only additional from what I read.
Okay. So the mayor has just made a motion to not find these two articles, not inconsistent with the master plan, with the memo of the list of changes for Dan, along with Deputy Mayor McAvoy is going to send some consolidating ideas for him. Can I get a second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy seconds. Can we get a roll call vote, please? Didn't you second?
Yes.
Okay.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Mr. Lilly?
Yes.
Mr. Kamudi?
Yes.
Mr. Fresky?
Yes.
Township Manager O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy?
Yes.
Mayor Tamburo?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hindman?
Yes.
Chair Pearson?
Yes. The motion passes, and a memo with this list and a resolution or whatever will get passed on next Tuesday. Before everybody leaves, I had another thing, but I kind of polled people, tried to poll people walking in the door tonight to ask them their feeling about changing the meeting hour for this board to meet on a regular basis. Next Tuesday's meeting, the hearing of adoption of the housing element is starting at 7 p.m. And I think most members here, including our legal genius, and our, who's that? I know, are amenable to a starting time of 7 o'clock. Last hearing, a 10 o'clock cutoff for new testimony, and a hard cutoff at 10:30. Does anybody object to any of that?
Is that going forward for all of them?
Well, I don't know how that procedure happens. Do we have to have the council pass something?
You're suggesting you want to change the bylaws of the body
Yeah,
to reflect
well,
these
there are
changes.
quite a few others that
You have to publish that,
Yes.
because the beginning of every year, you have to publish your
meeting,
meetings, in which, again, that's fine to do.
one notice, yeah.
You have one notice to publish that these meetings will now begin at 7 o'clock. You have to-
Right, and we would just list out the
Right,
remaining
yeah,
meetings
right.
and the dates.
Right.
So-
You change the bylaws, you could do that.
Well, if you do that in March, just publish online, right?
Well, true, because you don't have to publish in the paper.
There are a couple of other additions to the bylaws that need to be reviewed. And what I will suggest right now is the other item that I just wanted to toss out there was, after the last meeting, I did speak with another person on the ad hoc committee to review the zoning code. And we spoke about picking that up after this all gets passed. This affordable housing mess is kind of put aside so that we can begin to suggest to the council and obviously this board a couple of other tweaks that should occur in not just maybe the town center zone, but a couple of other tweaks that could occur in other zones to make things make a little more sense and get rid of some of the inconsistencies. And Greg will be instrumental in that as well, because he probably has some notes going back that can help us.
This time, hopefully, we have time to finish it.
Right. So I'm wondering whether that same ad hoc committee can also work on the bylaws, or, the board bylaws, and maybe soon after we can just kind of get this done, maybe moving forward in April, we can have it done by then?
I think so. Am I on that ad hoc? You're looking at me.
I
think I might be on.
I think the chair and the vice chair could just make recommendations on the bylaws to the board. That's.
No, you're not. No. Dan?
I was.
Jim is on,
And I'm
Julie?
happy to do it, but.
Who else was on that
May
besides,
would be more realistic.
besides the three of us? There was someone else. Oh, was it you, Jesse? I don't know.
No?
Damn it.
Yeah, Jesse's on it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I'll look back. I have notes. Do you know?
Not in this notebook, I have them in the office if you want me to run real quick.
No, I have it here on my drive here. Somewhere.
We can coordinate and schedule that.
Yes.
So discuss that monthly meeting when it's ready.
The ad hoc is Jesse Lilly. It's me, Jesse, Julie, and Jim, Greg. And then obviously we would want your input as well. And,
Madam Chair.
well, you come as an administrator.
Madam Chair, I'm just looking up now, there are New Jersey model planning board bylaws. So I respectfully suggest that.
We compare and contrast?
Let me.
Email it to the people on the ad hoc
Right,
for our
and then
own.
work off of the model bylaws, and then we can make, any changes that people need, but we can start with the model bylaws.
Okay. Mayor,
If we're done with this, I have another item of.
new
of
business?
Announcements, yes.
Okay.
The Tuesday meeting, there's going to be a large public event at this facility starting at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
I've asked Mr. O'Sullivan to ask the police department to put up some signage to reserve parking down here for the board. So if you see signs that say emergency no parking, park there. And with that, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Can I get a siren?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
Good night, all. Thank you.
Good night.